Manchester City have been charged by the Premier League for breaching numerous financial fair play rules.
Terrible decision.
This morning we learned that City have been charged by the Premier League with more than 100 alleged breaches of financial regulation.
Poor from Manchester City.
They say numerous breaches.
Everything's just shit about it.
What I can tell you at this moment in time...
I am fuming.
Well, what could that lead to? It's believed that if the charges are proved, it could lead to a range of sanctions.
Oh my God, I fucking hate this team.
Is that it's very intricate, very complicated, and we are working behind the scenes to try and break that down.
City again, just faffing around.
And put together 4 years of investigation in which I'm pretty damn sure that Man City haven't been particularly cooperative in.
Oh my God, fucking say bye-bye to the league, man.
More than you believe. More than you believe, I'm happy.
You aren't showing it.
I'm so happy, believe me. I'm so happy. Happy New Year.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome back to the Top 6 show. An action-packed agenda for you tonight. We will review United's win, Casemiro's red, Liverpool's humbling defeat, Tottenham getting one over on Man City, Arsenal's defeat, the title race, and much more. But of course, the big breaking news today, Manchester City are charged with 5 separate rules of the Premier League's FFP being broke and breached over 100 times in the past 14 years. Points deductions, relegations, titles being stripped, records being taken away, Guardiola leaving is all on the agenda for Man City as they face the biggest allegations of corruption in the history of the Premier League, the biggest news off the pitch in the history of English football, as they are accused essentially of cheating and fraudulent behavior. We're going to delve into it with my wonderful panel tonight. We obviously want your thoughts and your feeling on this. And yes, they have been charged. They are allegations, but they have been charged. People are asking what do allegations and charging mean. We'll go through all of that. Introducing my panel first, we have 2 City fans for you tonight. We've got man like Nobbins down there in the bottom, who was a little bit late because he said he was out shopping for a new football club. Patrick's here. Patrick's a little bit stressed, but he remembered that he still got those 2 Chelsea shirts from 2005, so he may be putting them on next week. Patrick's ready to go, bigging up Harry Kane after 200 Premier League goals. Have hopes here, fresh from another brilliant Chelsea performance on Friday night. And Igawa is here, probably feeling like such a redemption today. Arsenal lose, but because of City's bad defeat and then City getting in trouble, everybody's forgotten that Arsenal got humbled by a relegation team. And of course, I'm here, backing myself back in the terrace and Manchester United as we win again. Rashford scores again. We're delving into all of that and much more later. Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing?
Peckish.
Terry, all I have to say, it's a regular Monday. Every Monday, without fail, somehow, football drops you the craziest stories. It's just crazy.
No, it's normally on Tuesday, though. Let's be real. Normally, this is rare. Normally, big news doesn't drop on a Monday.
You're right about that. Yeah.
It's rare. It's rare for us to have. This is big on Monday.
Hey, regardless, they always drop something crazy every week. That's just the reality.
Yeah, absolutely they do. And of course, that's where we're going to start. The viewers have voted for it. 86% of the vote want this to be the first talking point.
Wow,
and we knew it would
surprise.
Start, but Man City, as we know, charged today with over 100 breaches of 5 separate Premier League laws surrounding financial fair play. This includes inflating and sort of doctoring of profit and loss accounts. They're accused of paying Mancini money from side businesses owned by the Sheikh, which is reportedly not allowed. There is, of course, inflation of their revenues and commercial deals. One said sponsor has no products, doesn't offer any services, doesn't have any staff, doesn't have an office, just a PO box in London, doesn't even have a company logo, but yet it manages to pay £10 million a year to City. There are betting companies who have websites and have our offers, but that's it. They don't actually have any customers. There's a lot of shady stuff that they're being accused of. City themselves, to be fair, and we have to be very, very fair here, have issued a statement back saying that they are surprised by the issues. They say that they are unequivocally are innocent, and they are going to turn around and essentially clear their name. The list of charges you can see is here. They start in 2009 and they end in 2023. Anywhere between 5 to 7 breaches of the rules per year as a bare minimum for Manchester City. So there's no better place to start than with. I already spoke to Patrick today, but I want to speak to Nobbins first of all. Of course, born and bred Manchester City fan. A terrible day for you as an individual and as a club. What's your initial reaction to it?
Yeah, so it was a terrible day after the Spurs defeat. I then wake up to this news, but more importantly, my shower broke this morning, so that just added to the doom and gloom in my house. I know, outrageous scenes. So full disclosure, I'm a lawyer and a fully qualified solicitor, so I'm going to pop my solicitor hat on for this section of the video in terms of my response to it. I think a lot is being made of. I think people are getting very excited about the potential breaches and potential repercussions. A lot's been made of titles being stripped, point deductions, etc., etc. This is a case 4 years in the making. It's not going to be resolved this season. It's certainly not going to be resolved this year. This is going to take years to come to a resolution. So people hoping for a points deduction this season, that ain't happening. People hoping for titles to be stripped, based on this is sort of unprecedented, but if we compare it to the 2 examples in the top 5 leagues, where a similar situation has happened, where we look at the mid-noughties Serie A bribing scandal, and we look at the French league early 90s bribery scandal, in those situations, the league title wasn't what was retrospectively awarded to second place. So I've seen lots of Liverpool fans getting very excited, saying, "Oh, Gerrard's going to have a Premier League title, and we actually won the 2019 league title." None of that's going to happen. I'm afraid to say, didn't happen in Italy, didn't happen in France. It's not going to happen right now. Also, the situation in Italy and France were criminal charges. There is no allegation of bribery or criminality here. This is much more of a civil matter. So the 2 are not comparable. Lots of allegations have been made. What I would say is that I don't know the full details of them. This is going to be a mainly private situation. But a lot of this has been carried over from the UEFA investigation into Manchester City, where City beat those allegations. There are a couple of different elements, but the key core principle is the same in respect of UEFA's investigation and the Premier League investigation. Now, City beat those allegations from UEFA because UEFA weren't able to prove their case. In the second instance, there were things that were time barred. Now, that is where it could be interesting because what time barred basically means is that it happened too long ago for it to be relevant. The Premier League doesn't have anything like that, so it's not relevant how long ago these other breaches took place. So that will be the only question mark of whether the time barred ones are relevant. But based on what City have said, they seem to be very happy. In fact, I think they've actually welcomed it to an extent, saying, well, we can finally clear our name. And then just like, sorry, I know I've talked a lot there. And then I just want to say that one final thing, which I thought was really funny. I haven't looked at all of the breaches yet. I'm trying to do a deep dive into all the alleged breaches. Obviously, there's a lot of FFP stuff. As I said, there's like over 100 counts. But one which I thought was really funny was alleged breach of Premier League rule article K20. And it reads, the height of the pitch grass shall not exceed 30 millimeters, and the entire playing surface must be cut to the same height. So I'm not saying that they're all superfluous claims. Obviously, some of them are like very serious allegations, but this does whiff of we're trying to get the numbers up to make it seem more bad than it is from the Premier League's perspective. And I'm sure we'll get onto it, but I don't think it's a coincidence that there is a government white paper tomorrow being released in respect of this. Sorry, I know I've talked a lot there, sorry.
No, I think everything you've said there, I was listening to, I didn't know you were a solicitor actually, but a solicitor speak on the radio earlier today, and they said don't expect a resolution in anywhere between the next 12 to 18 months, which I understand. City will drag this on forever. There's an independent inquiry. So this is going to take a long time to get resolved. I also agree with you. I don't personally think any club's going to retrospectively be handed those Premier League titles. Although I think if you are proven to have cheated, depending on the degree of the cheating, I think that should happen because you've essentially stopped other teams from winning it. The same as if a 100-meter sprinter dopes up and makes himself faster, and the guy who came second probably would have won that. So it's going to be interesting to see. As a fan, though, how worried are you? Taking off your lawyer hat and yourself as a solicitor, how worried are you that because whether or not they scrape it off historically from the records and other teams are awarded it, if you're proven to have cheated to get to where you are, football will not recognize City as having won titles. The Stretford end will probably put up its banner showing now 45 years since you won a trophy. Are you worried about the history under the Sheikh being deleted from football?
It's a very good question. Honestly, you mentioned that there's always going to be, if this gets proven, there's always going to be little asterisks next to those trophies. To be honest, I think loads of fans already do that to City, regardless of, nothing could have happened here, and loads of people are already saying, well, your titles don't mean anything anyway due to that. So from a fan perspective, as City fans, we've already got to sort of embrace the fact that we're the most hated club that no one actually cares about, if that makes any sense.
This guy's spitting facts. Keep going, man. I'm loving this.
So now, obviously, in an ideal world, there wouldn't be anything like that. But it's very hard to sort of draw the line of where you can reasonably say, this therefore led to you winning a title illegitimately, because it was very easy to do in France in the early 90s and very easy to do in Italy in the mid-noughties. There was clear evidence of individual fixtures being altered due to bribery. It's very hard to legitimately identify and go, you've spent, I don't know the exact figures, as I say, it's mainly all private, but for example, you spent an extra £250 million over 10 years when you're not allowed to. It's very hard then to go, right, so that's an average of 25 million a year for 10 years. How
well, I think you make a great point. It all depends on what and where. So for instance, if between 2009 and 2012, and I use that as a prime example because the Aguero moment happened, if in that period you cook the books to a point where you were able to spend, and they can prove you were able to spend an extra £150 million on players, you would look at who you were able to buy with that money and pay those salary to. And if you look at it and they say, listen, there's no way you would have been able to afford Aguero. There's no way you would have been able to afford David Silva if he hadn't already come in by then. I'm just throwing some names out. I don't know the exact dates at all, but I know Aguero was bought that season. Then you start to look at it and you look at the players that were influential for you, the players that delivered. And I just think you get to a stage where there's a case of, you literally wouldn't have had the Aguero moment if you hadn't signed Aguero. It's part of it. And I think that's where rival fans are going to come in here. And I want to go to Patrick, because I haven't really heard from you on this at all today. As a rival looking at this, I think we can all safely say it's an allegation. We'll see what comes out in the wash. But standing from the side, do you first of all think City have done it? And if so, what level of punishment do you think they should face from the English Premier League?
Let's be clear. To be fair, I think all clubs cheat. All clubs will cook the books and doctor things in a way to manipulate stats and figures and basically help their team out. We all do it. I say we all, as in every club will do what they can to legitimately get an advantage. Terry, one of the first things when I saw this, I came to you and said, what does this actually mean? Will it stick? Because we've seen Chelsea, City, we've seen loads of teams go through this before and nothing ever happens. And yeah, I think it's going to drag on and drag on and drag on. And eventually City have got so much money, they get away with it anyway. So even if they have done stuff and then, if it's done in a certain time frame and they just drag it and drag it and drag it, they won't be able to convict them. So yeah, I don't know, man. Will it really stand up? Will they ever be prosecuted? Will it mean something where it actually, basically gives a positive impact to the teams around, i.e. they're not allowed to bring in transfers or they're not allowed to sign anyone because they can't go back and strip them from titles and stuff. I don't see that happening. But if they can say, City can't sign X amount of players for 2 transfer windows like they did with Chelsea, or then it does impact them and gives everyone else a bit of an advantage, so to speak.
Actually, can I just ask a quick question? I mean, maybe nobody may actually sort of understands before I give my view. So what is the difference between what happened with Moji and Calciopoli in 06 and what happened with Juve this season as opposed to what is happening with City now? So what is the difference between those two?
So the difference with the Italian league scandal in the mid-noughties was there was a criminal investigation. People went to prison because it was to do with bribery and actually fixing matches. What's happened with Juve this season, what's allegedly happening with City's allegations isn't a criminal matter. It's to do with financial irregularities.
No, but then okay, so cool. 06. But this season, Juve were docked 15 points.
Yeah, but so in terms of so a few people have commented saying this must be criminal. It's hard to know without knowing all the details. But if you're twisting things to ensure you can compete in a football competition, the only way you get done for financial fraud in England is if you're cheating Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. Then it's criminal. Outside of that, to be able to compete, it isn't. If you're cooking your books in a business so you can get a cheaper insurance, that insurance company could get you prosecuted. But it doesn't appear that City have done anything that would be deemed illegal. The allegations are essentially what they're doing is this: Sheikh Mansour is starting a business that's based out of Abu Dhabi that does X, Y, and Z, but it's not a real business. It's like a proxy business that just pumps money into the club, but it's him funneling it from the other end. That is like the basics of it. There's a company that was supposedly paying Mancini £4 or £5 million a year to do training to coach the City team outside of his normal working hours. A bit like when I used to teach kickboxing, the kids and the grown-ups would pay a monthly fee to train at the club I was at. But they could pay me for private lessons externally, which was money that came directly to me. But it looks like these private coaching sessions that Mancini was giving to the City players was paid for by a company owned by Sheikh Mansour. So essentially it was him paying him. And what the Premier League believe, and they think they can prove it, is they offered him a package of, say, I'm making this number up here because they haven't shown the details, 15 million a year, but could only afford to pay him 8 million a year because they didn't have the revenue. But the Sheikh was paying him the rest of it on the side from a company he created. The Premier League believe that's against their FFP regulations. So it's not a criminal act. It would be a civil matter between the Premier League and Man City. That's why it's not deemed criminal. Yeah.
So look, my view, I'm 100% with Patrick on this. We knew these guys were doing this stuff years ago. We knew it. Like everyone, I actually remember having a conversation with someone years ago saying that, like these guys have an endless amount of money. So all they need to do is, my guy, we need 50 mil, 40 mil, 80 mil. Yeah, who cares? Let's just funnel it through. So I'm like, where are you getting this money from? This money seems endless. And we knew that they're obviously not following the proper financial regulations that everyone knew this. So let's be real. The worst that's going to happen is they'll be fined. They're not going to get thrown out. They're not going to have points to deduct it. You're not going to have titles. So everyone's getting really excited because, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to City? Let's be real. These guys have some of the best lawyers in the world because they can afford some of the best lawyers in the world. So they'll find whatever piece of text to allow them to get away with this. But my thing is, FFP is a joke, and football is always going to head this way. Like I have like a kind of crazy view that I don't know how long it will be. 10, 15, 20 years, football is going to destroy itself because of greed. Anytime something becomes really popular, people get greedy and money just comes in. And I just feel that the City owners, they're just the tip of the iceberg. This is going to continue. And I just think that football is just going to spiral out of control, and your financial fair plays and so forth are not going to do anything because everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to see the product thrive. So I don't see any serious punishments happening. The worst is going to be a hefty fine. That's it.
Okay, I just want to stop for a second and just go back to what you just said. Even if they don't get hit with a heavy fine, they get caught and down the line, 6, 7 years, 4 years, however long it takes. When they do get charged, or when they do get some sort of actual punishment at the end of this, it's going to be determined based on the fact that they stopped the initial, they disputed the initial charges. Won't they get punished more if they are found guilty? Not for everything, but even for a little bit. Wouldn't they still be punished severely? Like, I'm not thinking this is going to be something that's going to just go away easily, unless City pretty much destroy all of the claims except for the ones where it's like minor. They have to basically dispute almost everything. And with with the type of evidence they might have, they wouldn't go into this against City or against any football club if they don't have concrete evidence already that they could bring to the table. So I'm waiting to see. I'm not saying City are guilty or innocent, but I'm just saying if they do fight it in the courts and it drags on, the punishment will be severe for City if they lose. And I don't believe they're going to go through all the court system and everything and then just be like, you know what, here's a small fine. That's unrealistic. Let's be real.
Go on, Patrick.
You know what? There's a saying in Africa, right? When the wind blows in the village, everybody's chicken, their asses will show. I am from Africa and I listen to these things. What I'm trying to say is this. A lot of fans this morning, and I have been popular today, even my YouTube went from numbers from 1,600 to 1,900 right now, just because people want to see me cry. Funny thing is, right now, City fans are popular. But the thing is, people have to remember this. I like what Patrick has said. You have to be careful. Everybody's laughing, but every club has got dirt behind them. Because somebody said on ESPN that, okay, let's say they find a City guilty with all these small things they're pushing at. It looks like some of these things are pushing. They are like going to another extreme to make sure they stick. They're throwing 100 things at City that, oh, one of them will stick. We'll see how it goes. What if now City say, okay, you found us, right? And maybe there's a settlement or the club's reputation has been tarnished. Then we say, let's have transparency in the club. I'm pretty sure a lot of clubs will be sweating. Even right now as we speak, Terry, I bet you some big clubs or some clubs are cleaning up a few things saying, let's not be the next City. Because I'm telling you, I have done business before, obviously in my country. We are corrupted. Let me admit, we're very corrupted. When I got into business in my country, when my dad told me that you have to make sure who this guy's and this guy's pocket is full, I looked at my dad and said, wow, my own father. But anyway, I'm not trying to say bad things on my dad, but I'm saying every club right now.
You got to play the game. You got to play the game.
Yeah, you got to play the game. That's what I'm saying. At the end, it's going to come out. I think this might actually have a domino effect at the end.
I think it may. I'm going to be very arrogant here. As a Man United fan with the revenue we have, I hope it does. Man United have no reason to do this. And if we have been cooking the books and we're still £1 billion in debt, those accountants deserve to go to prison and we deserve to be relegated. So as a United fan, you don't cook the books and end up getting worse financially, in my opinion. No one ever does that.
Harry, let me just add one thing. I think one thing Patrick said makes a lot of sense is if they do implement new rules, it would be to what they've already been talking about, like rule changes with ownership, rule changes with like trying to bring more regulation amongst Premier League clubs, and obviously more policing of everything else. But that's pretty much
it. They want sponsorships, to be fair. An example will be this, right? So let's just take a look here as an example. Shirt sales in 2022. Man United sell 3.2 million, Real Madrid 3.1. You've got Liverpool there on 2.2, Chelsea 1.1 million, Arsenal just over 1 million. City did sell nearly 1 million shirts. This is one indicator. If Man United are selling more than 3 times the shirts of Man City, as an example, even when we're poor, it's unrealistic. Anyone who works in the commercial world knows it's unrealistic for a shirt sponsor to come into Man City and pay them 3 times as much as Manchester United, because the shirt sponsors aren't being seen and or worn by almost as many people. And it's just something some of the clubs in the Premier League are pushing for, and the Premier League themselves want, is an element of sensible sponsorship. So when people say, Newcastle are just going to get like a new stadium sponsor that are going to give them £1 billion a year, they can't, because it's outside of market value. There's no way Newcastle can generate as much commercial interest as Real Madrid or as Man United, as Chelsea. It's impossible. They don't have the fan base. Same as if you're a YouTuber, and quite a few of us on here are, do you think, Agal, you're going to land a commercial deal as big as Mark Goldbridge?
No.
So this is the equivalence of it. This is like you picking up a brand sponsor for your channel and being paid $100,000 a show, but the same sponsor going to Goldbridge going, you're only worth £10,000 a show. It's never going to happen. So when you see a club with a much smaller fan base with these astronomically big sponsors, and yes, they maybe say, look, in the future we think City will get bigger and want to pick up their new fans, But no normal business without direct connections to the owner would pay the exorbitant amounts they have to the size of the fan bases. So I think these regulations coming in, if you're a big club, you should want them. For Spurs, as an example, new regulation coming in and stopping sort of certain clubs with certain types of ownership from inflating their income will be seen is what you need, because it doesn't matter then if you've got a billionaire that owns them or Joe Lewis owns them, who's a billionaire that doesn't spend. They can't hype up their prices.
Yeah, we ain't whiter than white though, Terry.
When they state that Man City are turning over the most amount of revenue in the world, more than Real Madrid, more than Liverpool, more than United, more than Bayern Munich. I said this at the time. It wasn't a dig at City. I just didn't believe that it was genuine. That for me, there's something behind that. It doesn't make sense. And if it does, then Man City must be able to break that down, show us who these companies are. And these companies have got to offer things. How can a company that has no employees, no staff, no products, no services afford to give £10 million a year to Man City? Like, that needs to be explained to football. And you lot have all been quite nice. And there's a part of me that doesn't want City to be in huge trouble. You know, the club fall apart, the club come tearing down. I understand what Nobbin said, that maybe no one should be awarded those Premier League titles. But if you just take a few examples, Man United in 2012, we lost out on goal difference. Depending on how bad this financial doping is, that's a title we missed out on. Think about Liverpool in the last 4 to 5 years, where they've missed out by, they've got high 90 points and missed out by this much. Imagine there's financial doping in there that has enabled City to buy those 1 or 2 extra players. Look at Pep Guardiola's second season when he replaced Bravo with Edison, when he replaced these fullbacks that didn't work for another 100 million. Imagine he wasn't able to do that. Would he have had a Centurion season? You know, there's so many ramifications here that I think fans need to ask for clarity and answers on, because Man City's alleged doping, alleged breaking of FFP rules has changed the course of all of our club's futures. Back in 2016, Arsenal missed out on a Champions League place by 4 points comparatively to City. What if City's financial doping enabled them to win an extra 4 points that year? Or the players they built up over a 3 or 4 year period put them just in front of Arsenal? That was worth £60 million to Arsenal. Arsenal, if they're found guilty, Arsenal are going to sue them. And I would, if it was me. Like, I do think, again, they may only get found guilty of having the grass that's too long. And then this becomes a non-conversation. But I do think there's a lot of stones that need to be unturned here, and fans need real clarity on this, because I have no issue with billionaires from any part of the world buying football clubs. What I have an issue with is cheating. And I don't mean a player diving, which is what happens and all teams do it. I mean athletes taking performance-enhancing drugs, and football clubs in this kind of regard inflating their income so they can spend the most amount of money to have the biggest and the best squad, have the best manager in the world, but they're actually, if they weren't financially doping, they simply couldn't afford to do it. And personally, if I'm being honest, and if I end up being wrong, I'll come on the air and apologize. Looking at the revenues versus the shirt sales, looking at the revenues versus how many people follow Man United on Instagram versus how many people follow Man City, double, by the way, almost. I just don't believe that the finances at City are 100% legitimate. I just don't. It does not make sense to me that they're able to earn and generate more money than Real Madrid. It don't make sense.
No, but
no disrespect. They don't even sell out their own stadium. Like,
no, Terry, we knew this. Terry, we knew this.
He had to go there. He had to go there.
No, but Terry, like, what was I say? Like, Terry, are you shocked by the revelations? We knew this, and we're like, we know that this stuff doesn't add up. Look at their stadiums. How are you making all of this revenue? How many players have you sold? It's even a moron will know that this doesn't add up financially. So it's like, of course, what you're doing is wrong. But the key thing is that, are you really going to be charged, and what are you going to do about it? Can you really go up against their money and all of their lawyers?
What I would say is this, though, is that this situation is a little bit different from that of what happened with FFP. So there is going to essentially be an independent body, and I've heard one of the people leading this independent review is actually an Arsenal fan and on the Arsenal board or connected closely.
Surprise.
Yeah, which is interesting. But you'll probably find that with anyone they use. The difference here is it's not going to be heard essentially in a court of law. Lawyers can put the point across. But if the independent body finds City guilty, and we don't know how many charges, to say it's 50% of them, and then whatever the punishment put down by them in the Premier League, City have no opportunity to appeal because every year when clubs sign up to being part of the Premier League, and every year essentially it's a 20-team partnership, like a business in a sense. They all sign this every single year, that they have no right of appeal and they cannot take any adjudications to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. So if City are found guilty, and say they're deducted 30 points, whatever, and in whatever league they get put in, they're stripped of all their league titles and they're fined £100 million. I'm just throwing these things out there. City won't be able to do a thing about it. But equally, I want to ask a Gower question here. Knowing that this is all going on in the backdrop, not if you win the league does it feel tainted, but does it now feel weird going up against City, knowing that there are potential breaches of FFP that's fed into this current squad that you're going up against now? Does it feel fair to you, or like, how do you feel about it as an Arsenal fan?
First of all, as an Arsenal fan, I've always been confident in our team. But when it comes to City, based on what they've done or alleged what they've done, honestly, it's business as usual for us. It affects them more mentally. It affects City more. It might affect their players. It might affect their manager. It might affect their fans more. I don't really think as a team that's going up against them in a title race, I'm looking at it and saying, oh, now they're inspired to face us, or now I'm worried about them because of financial doping. No, personally, to me, I just look at it as this is their issue. They're going to have to deal with it internally. And from us, for looking from the outside in, we're just focused on ourselves.
I hear you on that. I want to go to some super chats that have come in here. First one says from Hammy, says doesn't just affect the EPL. This affects all football. Any league that has sold to City has had their league results skewed due to the factor being removed that the league due to fraudulent money. City have ruined football everywhere. I get that logic. So if City have paid £70 million to Wolfsburg, how much you pay for him? £50 million to Wolfsburg. That's £50 million that you shouldn't have been able to spend. Therefore, Wolfsburg have been made richer. Yeah, I don't know how far they're going to push this on, but I do understand your logic.
Terry,
yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
I was just going to say, like, I feel bad for some of the people that have been affected by this, like the fans. Like, shouldn't we feel a little bad for them? Like, I get it. When it was Chelsea, we were making jokes and everything, but it's a lot different than Roman Abramovich getting sanctioned, than the whole club like cheating. Where do you view it? Do you view it as worse? Do you view it as the same? I'm kind of conflicted.
I'll be honest with you. I think Man City fans, again, I think City fans will stay cool right now. I don't expect too many to be angry at their club at this point. But if City get found guilty, depending on the size of the guilt, City fans should be more angry than the rest of us. And I was saying this backstage. If this goes terribly wrong for City, the Aguero moment no longer exists in football. Their titles could be scrapped. Their medals could be scrapped. No one will care about the Centurions anymore. It becomes null and void. You know, I always remember the sprinter in England, Darren Campbell, love the guy. He won a gold medal at an Olympics. I think it was 4x4 100. And then Dwayne Chambers failed a drugs test and he lost. I think it was his only Olympic gold medal. And I felt so sorry for him. And it made me dislike Dwayne Chambers more because I liked him so much. I know a lot of City fans, and I think a lot of City fans have been through hell over the decades leading up to the Sheikh coming in. And if this turns out to be they are the most hurt party in all of this, because it's been 14, 15 years of celebrating, getting a bit cocky, enjoying themselves. And they will all know, whether they say it publicly or privately when they cry alone in their bedroom, they will be gutted, because this will be the heart and soul of their club for a decade and a half ripped out. And it means starting again, and it's over. And if they get found guilty, Sheikh Mansour's gone as well. He sold the club. Pep's going to go. The players will leave. City will be back to where they were 14, 15 years ago. And personally, like that element, I feel bad on the people for City. If it goes terribly wrong, I'm saying, that's the way it's going to go. And I mean, there is a train of thought. It could even be the end of City. If clubs start suing them, if clubs start putting lawsuits against them, and let's just say if they get found guilty of everything, clubs are going to sue them, because clubs like Arsenal have missed out on Champions League football, and they'll say, well, you've cost us £180 million over the past decade or so. We want our money back. Anything can happen from here. So I do feel sorry for the City fans, because essentially their club's entire history could be wiped off the face of the earth here, because their owners and their board have cheated. So yeah, I feel massively sorry for them. I really do.
And I think because there's people that was bringing up the Pep Guardiola quote from 2020 where he said that, he fully trusts shipments on everyone. But if it is true that they somehow doctored the books and so forth, that he would leave immediately, So, but again, like as Nobin said, it's like, will it take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? Yeah, there you go.
It's true. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it could take a lot. I mean, Pep could already leave by the time it gets stripped. But I feel sorry for him as well, because he's such a great manager. The timing is leaked. Is linked to the leaked white papers. There is an element of coincidence here, isn't there, about the Premier League?
What is the white paper, just for people that don't know?
So the Premier League are essentially releasing a dossier of their own, essentially saying the Premier League doesn't investigate the inner goings on amongst clubs as much as they should, and the government are going to suggest an independent body becomes the regulator of the Premier League. As you have a financial regulator, there's regulators that look after energy and stuff. They want a regulator of the Premier League. So the Premier League, there's a thought that they're going to come out now and going hard on City to show the government that we don't need an independent regulator, essentially.
Wow, make an example of us. Surprise,
Good.
You always have to, man.
Yeah, someone's got to suffer.
Yeah.
This is why education is important. Overestimating revenue is a fraud. Hence, it is criminal. Criminal offences doesn't have a time bar. This is law.
Nabil is wrong, by the way.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I'm on that. Listen, I'm throwing out my, thought and theory, but yeah, I'm listening to a solicitor on this one. Like,
Nabil's always wrong.
It's definitely
he is. He's a
criminal.
troll.
It isn't criminal what they have done. Otherwise, the police would literally be knocking on the door of Man City today. If City are found guilty of fraudulent behaviour and documenting, could they be prosecuted on a criminal matter?
No.
That's already been answered. City have already been found guilty once by UEFA and CAS, only overturned the ruling on a technicality.
False.
We don't have a technicality, and CAS have no say in this. Government have pushed back the white paper. That bit's true. But yeah, they weren't found guilty. They weren't found guilty by UEFA. They were charged by UEFA, but they were. It got overturned in the Court of Arbitration for Sport because of the time barring. So yeah, not quite right there, Joshua, but I know where you're coming from. Man City, the Barcelona wannabes thought they were a big club.
Stop it.
Terry,
Quite funny from a Barca fan, though, isn't it? After putting levers left, right, and center, this is gas.
Terry, I saw you just described money laundering.
Oh no,
but it isn't. No, it's not money laundering. It's just against FFP rules to have a subsidiary company owned by the owner of your football club pumping money into his manager to subsidize his wages. That's
it's like Tony's Soprano and so
money
forth.
laundering. It's not money laundering. It's just against the rules of FFP. We've basically broken City have broken a competition rule, not the law. Like, be very mindful of that. I'm not even a lawyer, and it makes sense to me. This is like turning up to an amateur rally meet with Ken Burke's hooligan car and Maka Henneke driving. I don't
know what that means.
Is that NASCAR or something? I don't even know.
No, Mika Hakkinen is an F1 driver.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't. Thank you for the super chat. Josh, your member, says, to be fair, a lot of information during the investigation was obtained by a hacking during football leaks. Curious of how they can legally obtain information. Question for you, Nobbins: if it's a civil matter, but they've got the evidence via hacking, because it's not a criminal case, that won't matter, will it? Or could it still?
It's hard because it's not even really a civil law case. It's a rule case. So if this was going through the actual genuine courts, then I think that would be relevant. But I don't actually think that the manner in which the information is obtained is actually going to bear that much in respect of this.
Well, in fairness, I'm not comparing it at all to the situation with Mason Greenwood. But a lawyer said in a space I was listening to the other day that voice recording may not be able to be used because, one, they don't know how it was obtained, and two, it was already put onto the internet, meaning it could be tainted. But that's because that was a criminal proceeding and everything needs to be, that. But Man United, by employment law, could still sack him because of it, because they've heard the damn thing, and it doesn't matter how it was obtained. Yes. So it's almost the reverse of that from a criminal.
I heard Nike already sacked him, apparently.
Yeah, Nike have heard it. They're just like, well, I've heard it. It doesn't matter how it was obtained. Again,
I don't associate with him, man.
Yeah.
Let me
just go for these last super chats, bro. Sorry. When is Gerrard getting his Premier League medal sent to him?
Never.
Never.
They will. I mean, I tweeted earlier. Again, people always take tweets so seriously. I just said, as far as I'm concerned, United have 23 league titles now. Like, I was just messing around. Like, I'm in my heart of hearts, I know we're not going to get it. I want it, but we won't.
Patrick has a League Cup.
They will not be punished more severely for taking the matter to appeal, Igal, as they have seen them. As it is seen as them exercising their right. I mean, there is no appeal. If they get found guilty, that's it.
Yeah.
There is no appeal. So
there is no appeal. It's just not to CAS. They can appeal it to another independent commission.
Right, yeah. Hi, Terry. Hope to be out of hospital later this week. Hello, Stephen. I hope you're well, my friend. He says, give you Ty's famous AFTV line. Monsieur, you're a disgrace. You're a cheat. I hope Man City get relegated. Keep up the content, Terry. Thank you. I mean, we are all hoping, and we are obviously going to get onto the football again soon, but we are all hoping, I assume, for City to get relegated. As rivals, we all want that, right? Like, we all want them out of the Premier League, don't we?
I don't want them to get relegated.
Has that ever happened in one of Europe's top 5 leagues? Have they ever thrown the book at someone to that degree?
No, Juventus also.
Yeah,
Juventus went to Serie B.
They
went down. They're going to get relegated this season.
It's not the same as this, though, is it?
What do you mean it's not the same? Bro, like, Moji was found to be guilty, and they said, yo, go to Serie B, bro.
Bro, they might get relegated this season.
Yes, they get relegated. No, I think they're going to get, like, 20 more points deducted, and also it's Serie B as well. So
this is why I'm being quite careful when I said about none of us are whiter than white, because Paratici was involved in that, and he's now at Tottenham. So God knows what's going on behind the scenes. So
no. But I think though, part of the thing though with it's true, everyone does this, but the thing with Juve is you did this in 06. Don't it's like a problem child. Shouldn't you learn from your mistakes? You already did this already, and now you've done this again. So Juve has said, well, Roma do it, and thinking do it, yeah. But you've already done it before, so there's going to be a greater spotlight on you. Basically, what? It's like this. We all knew that something City was doing was fishy. As Terry Georgia said, the revenues don't match up. So for City, you may say, well, they're doing it as well. But there's a greater spotlight on you because everything looks very fishy. So the people are going to be like, hang on, something doesn't work here. Guys, let's actually investigate these guys rather than investigate United or Chelsea. So now, hopefully Chelsea, because guys,
I was about to ask that. You better be careful. You might be next.
I want to pick Novin's head for a second. I want to hear from you, bro.
Hello.
Tell me, what do you think is the worst case scenario you see in your head without going to the worst of the worst? Like, obviously not relegation and instant like drop into another league, but like, what do you think is a realistic outcome on this based on your experiences?
Assuming that City get proven guilty.
They don't have to be proven guilty on every count, just like whatever they think, whatever is the most realistic option.
Yeah, sure. Just a prediction. I don't know, obviously, but I will try to give my thoughts. Yeah, so I think that a lot of the charges will get thrown out because a lot of them are just carried over from the UEFA situation. So the only ones that probably will be relevant are the time-barred ones, because I think someone said earlier, City only beat UEFA on a technicality because of time-barred. No, there were 2 cases. Some were time-barred, so City didn't even bother to challenge them. But City did just challenge and beat UEFA on some instances. So those ones, in my head, are irrelevant. So the only ones that are relevant are the time-barred ones. Let's say that City do. It's proven that they've been very, very naughty boys. I think probably a realistic punishment would be transfer embargoes for a number of windows and a hefty fine, and probably, I think what realistically what would be the worst case would be a points deduction in the season where it's decided. I really don't see relegation, league expulsion, titles being rescinded because we touched on it before. This is not a criminal matter. This is nowhere near as severe as the other scandals that we've seen in France and Italy. So my guess, to be honest, my prediction is City win this case. But if that doesn't happen, my prediction is that it will just be a points deduction, a fine, transfer embargo, essentially a slap on the wrist. I know it's not what a lot of people want to hear.
And just to follow up, everything will be business as normal until then. So you're still going to go into the window in the summer and spend ridiculous money on a bunch of players.
Well, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the issue with these things taking so long. I'm sure that as I say, if City have been naughty, I'm sure that now they will make sure to not be so obviously naughty or naughty at all. But yeah, there's City aren't just going to sit there and go, oh, we're just going to exist for 2 or 3, 4 years or however long it's going to take. It's like, no, we're just going to business as usual. Just like they've come out and said, well, we're definitely going to win, so it's fine. It's fine for us.
Yeah, City will end up. Do you remember when the lockdown happened and everybody went out and bought all the toilet rolls? City are just going to go into the market and spend £1 billion and be like, let's just break the rules again. We're going down anyway. So, yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see which way this goes in. Super Chat here says UEFA are changing regulations based on loopholes. Chelsea used that were in place for years. Sorry, rivals. Chelsea aren't next. By the way, the length of contracts and amortization are not a loophole. It was quite simply how clubs buy transfers. Chelsea have just done it in a way where they've supercharged it and bought 2 years, 3 years worth in one season. For me, still don't even understand why it's being called. It's not even a loophole. It's just it's smart business. It's not a loophole at all.
But there's a risk, you know that, right? There's a risk. Like other clubs can do this, but they don't want to do this because there's a high risk if things don't go well. He must remember.
No risk, no reward. No risk, no reward.
There is definitely high risk, but when people are saying it's a loophole, and it's not for me. Could the Prem make a point by kicking City out? I want to extend on what Nobbins just said. If they're found guilty of the worst elements of this, say 75% of it and all the bad stuff, and when it all comes out in the woods, it's like, oh my God, they wouldn't have been able to buy 80% of their squad in the first 5-6 years. I don't know. I'm just making this up now as I go along because we don't know the facts. Then they could. If they're only found guilty of 4 or 5 things and they're relatively small, then they're not going to be kicked out of the league. And some City fans like Nobbins will believe they'll win. Some people like me are going to hope and pray that they get found guilty of 100% of this.
Shameless.
I want it to happen because I want one less competition for us to try and win things. If I'm being absolutely honest with you, why would I not want that? Like the madness. If it was the other way around, there is not a City fan in the country that wouldn't want Man United to be guilty and be in trouble. Here it says, as far as I'm concerned, Fergie has 3 three-peats. I agree with you on that one, my bro. A super chat here says, Terry, how can you go after City yet say numerous times in videos Chelsea is a great project? But again, Anthony, I mean this politely. If and when Chelsea have accusations of cheating and there is reported evidence, I will change my mind. Until that point, there's nothing I've seen from Chelsea. They've completely explained how they're doing what they're doing, and it adds up from a football finance point of view. If it turns out in a few years' time that they've cheated and all this money has been pumped in privately from a subsidiary company of Todd Bowley's, which he shouldn't be doing, I'll condemn it. But until that point, I can't. And remember, they haven't spent £700 million cash in one. They've only spent about £120 million so far because they're spreading the cost over.
Oh, look at HH. You're so happy.
But it is true though, because City, the difference with City is that money is being spent up front. This whole you spend 700 mil. No, not in January. Over the course of 2, 3, 4 years, maybe, but in January, 700 million has not been spent. So it's just a creative way of doing business. So.
What about the fact that Chelsea was just sold to Todd Bowley and it was in the hands of the government or some of these people who could be regulating in the first place? So maybe they're already looking at Chelsea. They're like, you know what, nothing's going on, because if you're going to sell the club to somebody else, you're going to tell them if they're
the government would have looked at there'd have been like with the whole sanction thing that the UK government wanted to own Chelsea loads. If they could have taken it away from Roman. And actually got the money by finding out breaches and FFP rules. They'd have looked for that, in my opinion, personally. But government's like, let them off. But City have to pay every club the same amount of money they defrauded. That's not bad. If City are found guilty and get relegated, what happens to City in the top 6? Listen. Well, yeah, it'll be someone else will replace them, or they won't be there because. I'm not covering the Conference North. Like I'm not doing it, bro. I'm not doing it. So if City is not found guilty, does this mean as long as you got money, you can get away with cheating? Listen, this accusation has been thrown around a lot in the last few days when people say, if you got money, you get away with crimes that you commit, etc. I understand the cynicism behind it, but equally, we always have to stand there and say they may not have done this. And if you get found, that's why what's important, whenever I see a court case and someone's been found innocent or guilty, I implore people to read the ins and outs of the court case. I was talking about Ryan Giggs recently, and it was like, money got him off. Then I explained two things I learned about the lady accusing him in reading the notes of the courts. The lady that's accusing him, the reason it was hard to convict Ryan Giggs is because she admitted to lying about two things. She admitted, firstly, she said she had evidence on her phone that he'd beaten her on numerous occasions, but that when she went out for a walk, her phone fell out of her pocket onto the grass, rolled down a hill, and landed in a canal in Manchester. But she said it's not a problem because I'm getting a new one and I've got iCloud. I'll send you the pictures from there. The police kept on pushing her for the pictures, and she kept on saying she forgot her login, forgot her password, then didn't remember what email address she used to set it up. So, couldn't get access to her iCloud anymore to get the pictures. So it was seen in the court as Jackanori, like a bit of a lie. Then it turned out that she lied to Ryan Giggs and her own family that she had cervical cancer. That's why she had to stop taking her contraceptive pills, because she was trying, and she admitted, because what she was actually doing was trying to get Ryan Giggs to get her pregnant. So if they broke up, she would get money from him. So I'm not saying that makes Ryan Giggs innocent. I'm saying to people, read what actually happened when they couldn't find a decision. That's because he's got money. No, they couldn't find a decision because it looks like they're both not very nice people, and it's hard for a jury to decide which way to lean. So it's not always based on money. Often it's based on like what's actually happened. So if City do get found innocent, actually, and people have shown it here today. They were found guilty by UEFA, but got overturned on a technicality. It didn't. So you obviously didn't read the transcript. So please read them. Some evidence against City was not accepted as they were from a hacker. Thank you very much, Vineeth. This is we Chelsea run FFP. He. City think they are Juve. Dyke also says thoughts on what UEFA does right now with Man City. Nothing.
Nothing because they lost.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, UEFA are going to keep themselves right out.
They took the L, man.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, people, I'm not defending what Ryan Giggs may have done. I'm pointing out that he didn't just not get found guilty because he has money. You have to read what's gone on. My ex-wife, she actually watched the Oscar Pistorius case. She had some time off work. She hadn't been well. She watched all day, every day live. This woman, she knew that case. She could have wrote the encyclopedia on it. So when I'd say, I heard this happened, she would school me every day on what actually was said in court rather than me listening to a 5-minute headline. That was a learning curve for me. It's don't talk about things that you have not researched at all. Here, this says, winning the Champions League doesn't make Chelsea more successful than Arsenal. With more trophies overall and the weight of the number of times they have been consistently a top club, Arsenal is bigger.
That's just a lie. That's just a lie. That's just a lie. Your little bro.
Numbers. You can't dispute the numbers.
That is so random. Where did that come from? Why was that sent?
Because it's a fact.
No, I think little bro is just triggered. Little bro.
That's so random.
We're gonna come back to some more of these super chats. We're gonna come back to some more of these super chats a little bit later. We are going to talk Jurgen Klopp soon, Man United soon, and Arsenal soon. So stay with us on the show. But of course, yesterday there was a big result involving Man City. Patty, a nice victory. Harry Kane doing Arsenal a favour. Talk to me, Patty.
You know what? I hate that this is the narrative now that he's done you lot a favour. We had to win the game for ourselves, especially after losing to Man City in the way that we did. That second half collapse, conceding 4 goals in 18 minutes. It was a good payback essentially for that result, and we needed to. Newcastle got a +1 on us. Man United won their game, so for us to keep up with the chasing pack, we had to win that game. I went into the game in a weird mood because obviously I want our team to win, but I knew that if we did lose, it's probably the best time to lose a game because of the implications that we have in City catching Arsenal. So I was a bit indifferent going into it, but I felt confident because...
Wait, you can't say that. You have to support your team.
I'm being honest.
That's crazy.
I'm always going to keep it 100. I'm always going to keep it 100. Of course, I wanted us to win the game, but if we did lose it, it's the best time to lose a game because
crazy.
It's the reality.
It's your team.
Thank you, Pat.
Most people will say, if people are honest with themselves...
Patrick, did you want to lose it? Be honest.
I didn't want to lose the game because, like I said, we lost the first game, and also Man United won their game, and even Newcastle, they didn't lose the game, but they got a point. So obviously for us, our objective, the minimum is top 4. So we need to keep up with the pack, and we're behind them. So yeah, man, when you look at the table now, it was a good result.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, and I'm just saying.
Let me
I
just jump
felt
on this.
to our man, we were fantastic. Emerson Royale, the best I've seen in a Spurs shirt. I couldn't believe the performance I saw from him.
Going forward, you're gonna defend Royal. No, defense is good, but
I'm
him
not
going
defending
forward.
him. I'm just saying, like
Let
when
him have
someone
his
plays
moment.
well, when someone plays well, you got to give them their flowers because we're always quick to jump onto these guys, and he's had so many fuck ups in the Spurs shirt. Let's be honest. But when he's good, give him his credit or his praise. Eric Dyer as well. He's been atrocious this season, but to be fair, he was good yesterday. The fact that we weren't talking about him shows that he had a good game. So that's all I can ask. And obviously going forward, we looked dangerous on the counter. We also played. For me, I thought that the assistant coach was fantastic because he didn't let us sit behind the ball and just drop deep. We actually played quite a high line, which was quite surprising considering how good Haaland is on obviously running on behind, but they didn't really find him. They weren't looking for his runs. And we also did like a counter press where we had like Romero and even Eric Dyer harassing and hounding them as they got the ball, hence what Højbjerg did, which led to the goal. And then obviously the nice little slide through assist to Kane. Kane finishing with his first touch of the ball. And then, yeah, we were good, man. We had a lot of good chances. City are always going to be dangerous.
Can I just ask, what happened to Son?
Nothing. He had a decent game, man. We need to stop this narrative of what happened to Son. Son
Patrick,
played all
stop
right.
it. Let's be real. Stop it. Based on what we know Son can do.
Yeah, but he had a good game in it. Call it for what it is. I thought Son played really well. He was running at them, causing problems. And yeah, I mean, yeah, he
Patrick,
didn't
you're
score.
lying. You're lying. He didn't have a really good game. You come on, really good game.
He had a good game, man. He caused them problems. He gave City something to think about. He was linking up with Kane. He was going forward doing stuff. Yeah, he didn't score. The thing is with Son, when he doesn't score assists, people get onto him, but that is his game.
No, but it's not about scoring assists. Like even when Son was on form, I don't know whether the last season or before. It's not about him scoring or so forth. You would see how much issues he would cause opposition. Let's be real. The two attackers who were causing City the most issues was Kane and Kulusevski. Kulusevski has now taken up that role that Son used to take because Son simply isn't clicking and just isn't as effective as he once was.
He's not in form, but I don't think he had a bad game. I thought he was actually quite good, like in terms of he was decent. He caused them problems. He got even from like minute 1 or 2, he got the ball, made a good, amazing run, darting run, and gave City defenders something to think about. There was quite a few times when he was linking up well with Kane. Yeah, of course the numbers ain't great and he needs to score more goals. Ultimately, he's one of the best forwards in the league. He should be scoring. But I thought he was actually decent in that game. If you take that game for what it is and not add all the other games, I thought he was all right.
But Patrick, okay, when do you now admit that Pep gave you that game with his stupid formation?
Stop it.
Listen,
Before you get
of course he gave him the game. He gave it the game.
Before you get
how much did he pay him? 50, 60?
You're jumping the gun. I want to touch on Spurs before we go into City. I just want to say this. Harry Kane, big up to him. He got his goals. He delivered again for Tottenham at home versus Manchester City. He seems to do that on a regular basis. He got his goal record also. First striker to get 200 Premier League goals on his in one club. I think that's quite impressive also. And he broke Tottenham's
How many
record.
trophies?
Yeah, how many trophies, please? How many trophies?
Hey, I'm not here to talk about the trophies. You know what I mean? I'm just here to talk about the fact that the guy gave us a helping hand, showing that he's an Arsenal man through and through. And you got Kulusevski also putting in a man of the match performance, or not a man of the match, but a good performance.
Cooley played well. Yeah.
Tottenham overall showed me that they are actually clicked into gear versus City, and if we can see a replicated performance over the next coming weeks, they have an outside chance of getting back into the top 4 race.
Outside chance? We're 1 point behind Newcastle, mate. There's no outside chance. We're getting top 4.
You without getting triggered.
Nah, there's no outside chance.
Why are you getting triggered? Let me give you a compliment.
Listen to the word that you use, outside chance. Like we're full.
I can't give you a compliment. Boy, that's me giving you a compliment. You're not gonna get the whole cake. Let me give you a slice. Let me give you a slice, okay? And then talking about Patrick. Patrick, you're a shameless individual because before the North London derby, you said I want to beat them and then I want to lose to City. And you know what happened?
100%. I did say that.
You know what happened? This season, Patrick, you guys have basically given us a 9-point swing against City. You've given us 6 points, plus you've taken 3 points off them. So that hands off to you. Thank you for that.
Listen, it will just have to go down to the City Arsenal games, won't it? It will just
it's not even banter to all Spurs fans. It's just to you, because you sat there on Saeed's channel and you said, I want to lose. I want to give them 6 points and I want to take 3 from Arsenal. It happened the other way around.
Yeah,
so,
I know, and it's annoying. Yeah, exactly. And that was my thesis. I thought we would beat you guys at home because we always beat Arsenal at home. Obviously, I got that one completely wrong. And Arsenal deserved to beat us in that game. You're the much better team.
Thank you, bro.
So I thought we would get those 3 points. And then I was happy to concede the 6 points to City, knowing what it would do to you lot. But the fact that we lost to you lot, I was like, you know what? We have to win our games now. We lost the first game.
Can you say one thing for me? Do you think North London has ever been disconnected?
We weren't connected.
This is
we did this. I will never.
See, this is why I want Arsenal to not win the league, because the guys.
I'm just trolling. Before people start saying I'm going overboard,
just messing up. I wanted to jump in though and say to the City fans on this game, because we've got a lot of other subjects to get through tonight. But do you feel like not Klopp? Do you feel like Pep Galaxy brained it a bit yesterday, Nobbins, in terms of not starting KDB? Putting Lewis in at left back when Ake's been great there, leaving Diaz on the bench. You had a great opportunity to close that gap on Arsenal that had a bad weekend individually themselves. Do you feel like the manager got it wrong yesterday, or is this just another one of these bad performances that I've been talking about to you for weeks now?
It's a hard one. I think it's easy to say in hindsight Pep got it wrong, because if Rodri doesn't make the stupid error, and if Mahrez's shot is just slightly under, maybe City go away with a 1-0 win, and we're all talking about how Pep big brained it and it was excellent. So I don't know if I'm going to say that Pep overthought it. I think that does get used a bit too much. Someone mentioned about Pep using
wingers.
Pardon?
He had no wing. The guy had no wingers, and nobody was feeding the ball into Haaland. Pep keeps on doing this. Come on, man, just be real. Pep, he gave Tottenham the game. How do you not start Gundogan or De Bruyne when you have a striker who is a plank of wood and who needs you to feed it? You gave the game to Tottenham.
This guy, man, Lukaku tax, isn't it? Okay.
So I was actually quite. I was quite happy with the team selection, to be honest. Really? I wanted Alvarez to start. Someone mentioned earlier we played a different formation. We didn't. It's the same formation we played for months now, the 3-2-5 in possession. The only difference was Rico Lewis was played at left back out of possession rather than right back, but in possession he plays in central midfield, so it's largely irrelevant. For me, the issue wasn't about system or formation. The issue was about not utilising it properly. It was utilised properly, brilliantly, I thought, in the second half against Spurs, when we played more direct and we played the balls quickly into Haaland, and Haaland would either win them or the second ball would bounce off him. And that's why I wanted Alvarez to start the game yesterday, because he was perfect against Spurs at latching onto those second balls and being a willing runner in behind Haaland. That didn't happen. I don't know why. So many occasions Haaland made a brilliant run and he just wasn't found. City choosing to not be direct in moments where they need to be direct. So didn't help that Rodri had a terrible game. He was at fault for the goal. He was at fault in build-up as well. Terrible. Yeah. Alvarez was poor as well. But I didn't disagree with the premise of not starting De Bruyne, because I don't think De Bruyne played against Spurs in the other game where we were.
He didn't even get on the pitch.
He didn't at all. He was on the bench.
Exactly. He's an industry plant.
So I think
calm down.
I think a lot is being made of you didn't play De Bruyne, but we didn't play De Bruyne in the second half and scored 4 goals. The issue was just the not implementing a more direct approach when the game was clearly gagging for it. When you're up against Spurs and all they're going to do is get behind the ball, you've got to be more direct and be braver.
Sorry, quick. Can I just ask a question just to the City fans? Do you think Haaland is a Pep player? Do you think Haaland causes issues for how Pep wants to play?
No, definitely not. This man scored 31 goals. His numbers speak for himself, to be honest. The issues at City this season, if you go look at the points City have dropped this season, it's got nothing to do with, City aren't playing a false 9, so therefore they're giving away the ball all the time midfield because it's not an option. No, the midfield has just been really bad this season. Rodri keeps making really weird mistakes. De Bruyne keeps making really weird mistakes. Bernardo Silva, Gundogan, Alvarez recently. The midfield is just disjointed, and it's got nothing to do with the presence of Haaland. It's to do with these players can't make a simple 5-yard pass sometimes. Haaland's presence is nothing to do with that. And we even saw against Spurs how he was dropping deep and receiving the ball quite well. So yeah, I don't buy the whole Haaland's changed City for the worse sort of thing.
It's an easy cop out, to be honest with you, because a lot of fans, a lot of rival fans, you guys are funny. The thing about it is we all watch each other, and I watch most of you guys. Believe it, is it Terry? Everyone. I watch everyone in the YouTube channels. Things change. When Haaland is on fire, some fans are like, yeah, oh my God, this guy's incredible. How can he do this? But when Haaland just gets quiet, it's Haaland's fault. But if you look at Haaland right now, and you look at the team, he makes runs. Like even Egao, if you watch the match with Spurs, he made runs, even Alvarez did. And Bernardo Silva decided to dribble. And you're open to give the ball. It's just that something is not clicking, and it's not has to do with Haaland. Because without Haaland, I don't even think we would have been in this position. Because some of the players that are the big players are not playing well. They're not playing well.
I tweeted yesterday. He hasn't scored away from home against any of the big teams, any of the top six yet. And I said we've got to start a dialogue. But I want to start the dialogue because I want to see how many people, for me, do like the basic bitch analysis and go, well, Haaland ain't scored, therefore he's the problem. But you just took the words out of my mouth, Patrick. There was 3 runs in the first half where a quick first-time direct ball, by the way, a Bruno Fernandes would play it every single time, and Haaland's running through on goal. And we spoke about this yesterday in the match review. If you switch Haaland and Harry Kane around, switch them on teams yesterday, Haaland in that Spurs team yesterday would score 3 or 4 goals because he has more speed than Harry Kane. He'd have just, the amount of times he would have run through, that ball would have been played through to him. City have got to start playing that ball a little bit earlier. And that's something Pep's got to get his team to adapt to. The second element is if Haaland isn't scoring, who else is stepping up? In years gone by, you had Raheem, Gundogan, Silva, Mahrez, Aguero. You had multiple match winners in that team. Now it's almost, well, if Haaland doesn't score, no one else is stepping up. They've got no midfield player this year that's like killing it outside of KDB, who I think's been good. Obviously, Mahrez had a little resurgence so far this year, but he was awful in the first half of the season. And then we know who's on the left-hand side. I've said it before. You've got Luke Chadwick out on the left, who
City's best player yesterday. City's best player yesterday.
And City fans, defensively, was good yesterday, but City fans do this all the time. They're going to defend him, how Liverpool fans on the terrace defended Firmino. But look at all the other things. He carries the ball well. He holds it up. He tracks back. That's a prerequisite. Does he do... If Haaland ain't scoring, how often is Jack Grealish stepping up and doing his job by creating the big chances and or scoring the goals? He isn't doing it, and that's his job. His job is to create. This notion of, actually, what he does, he sits in a pocket really far out on the left-hand side, looking pretty, having his socks down low, and it creates a space for Haaland to score.
And gets fouled.
Job. For me, that I guarantee you Pep Guardiola wouldn't say that. Pep Guardiola doesn't sit down and go, Jack, you don't need to deliver shit all, bruv. Just sit out on the left and make a bit of space for Haaland. There's no way he says that. There's no way he says it. Luke Chadwick, 100 million pound Luke Chadwick, better looking version, is a problem for you. The same as this year, Gundogan and Silva. They're all problems for you because they're just, for one reason or another, not delivering enough game-changing moments. They're not having enough individual moments of brilliance, and you're relying on Haaland. And the irony is, football fans do this. They're attacking Haaland for it. Man United went through this. The only guy that was delivering for about 18 months was Bruno. And then he'd have a game where he didn't perform, and it's, Bruno let you down.
And Ronaldo.
Well, forget Ronaldo. I'm talking Bruno. Like, Bruno would be brilliant every game. One game he wouldn't score. I think Bruno's the problem. No, everyone else that doesn't deliver, every game is the problem here. Look at Arsenal. Arsenal, a prime example. Arsenal don't have an individual player this year that you'd say is the best in the league, been the best this season in the league in his position. Maybe Partey, but from an attacking point of view, Saka's not the best winger this year. Rashford is. The best striker this year has been Haaland. Who's been the best attacking midfielder? You could probably argue Odegaard, but not on numbers. Numbers, KDB.
Yes, on numbers. He has been the best numbers.
No, KDB's got 11 assists.
KDB is still up above him.
Having the best season. Probably scoring goals.
I'm talking numbers here, right? From a creative point of view. But the difference is, Nketiah, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and Odegaard are all delivering, like week in, week out collectively. That's more dangerous than one guy in your team who's on goal scoring or creative form. And that's a big problem at Man City right now, I personally think. Viewers, we're joined now by Tom. He's just in time for Liverpool's cooking on the show, which is good. This super chat here says, Kane should have switched to a better club. A brilliant player, could have won a lot at Man United or Chelsea. Premier League needs a salary cap with a luxury tax. I don't know what the luxury tax means. Explain that, Ronnie. Man City, ha ha ha, is from Ruins. Do you think some of these City players may renew their contracts?
I don't.
Not right now. It's hard now.
I really believe, Terry, that there's at least 4 to 5 players in that City team that want out. Be it that they want to leave in the summer, like Gundogan not resigning, or Bernardo Silva wanting to go to Barcelona, or even some of these players on the fringes.
Gundo's contract was expiring though, man. So
that's what I mean. I said that. His contract expiring, but I just feel like not everything's right over there in Manchester. I feel like there is a little disconnect from some of the players in Pep.
Thank you. Thoughts? No, we had that one. Terry, you didn't read all my super chats. You also mentioned Abramovich is also not just Bowley. Yeah, I mean, there's been no investment. You got to remember the majority of like the first decade that Abramovich was there was no FFP. So again, if Abramovich broke FFP rules before FFP exists, there is no crime because there was no rules. That's it. There was no rules. No mercy. Pep realized he's been asleep and now he wakes up to a nightmare. Shame them is what's said there. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that super chat, my friend. Thank you. I don't quite know what he meant, but thank you anyway. I do appreciate it. Haaland, top goal scorer in the championship. Imagine how many goals he get in the championship.
100.
Haaland this season equals Ronaldo last season. He scores, but he's a problem. As a Man United fan, this looks like deja vu.
I think that's crazy.
No.
It is. I tell you what's also crazy this year. I mean, we're going to move on to Arsenal soon, ladies and gentlemen. We're also going to talk a bit of Man United as well a bit later. We're going to put the poll up for you to vote for the next subject. But the viewers voted in the next one, and we've timed it perfectly with Tom arriving. And the question is, and I don't want to go to Tom first. I know Tom's thoughts on this. I'm going to go to Patrick first on this one. Should Liverpool...
Which Patrick? The Spurs one or the City
Spurs,
one?
Patty. Yes, Spurs, Patty, sorry. Should Liverpool sack Jurgen Klopp?
Yes, to be fair. Any other manager with this crop of talent who was performing this badly, getting spanked by a team that hardly score goals in Wolves. This isn't the Wolves under Nuno. This is the Wolves now who are crap. Losing week in and week out. Like, I'm not even surprised. I saw 1-0, saw 2-0. I thought maybe Liverpool might. And then I saw, you knew the game was over. Any other manager wouldn't get afforded this time. I understand what he's done. But right now, the team looks shot. He looks short of ideas. He spent a lot of money. He has been backed. I just don't understand it. Some of the signings haven't made sense. The fact that he neglected the midfield and then in the end admitted he needed the midfielder, it was too late. The fact that he's brought in Gakpo, who they didn't need. Even Diaz, they didn't really need him. It's just a lot of weird signings. And the defence is looking very dodgy. Creativity's not there. Salah now is a shell of himself. Like, there's too many players that are out of form. And when there's so many players that are out of form, the same unit's not working, the manager has to take the flak for it. And I mean, like I said, if there's any other team with this crop of talent and a big club like Liverpool as well, they will get sacked.
Listen, I don't think some people in the comments will agree. Some will say, well, who comes in? And I mean, straight away, Chelsea have been linked with him today. Luis Enrique is available as an example. Thomas Tuchel is available. Poch is available. There are managers out there.
Be ambitious. Go look at Zidane. Why don't you try and be ambitious? Like, there's other managers out there.
How about yourself, like Igal? Like, you sort of look at their form. They've got to deep this for a minute. They have less points than Man United did at this stage last season. I understand he has more credit than Ollie, more credit than Ralph. Although Ollie would have had a lot more credit if he'd have won that Premier League title he deserved when he came second a few years ago to City. But but do you think the time is running out for Klopp? Do you think Klopp could even walk away, Igal? Because this guy is saying now, I don't know why we're not playing well. I don't know how to change it. He's weird facial expressions on the side of the pitch. Like, he doesn't even look well sometimes, Is time running out for Jurgen Klopp to turn this round?
I think personally he should leave at the end of the season just out of mutual respect, based on the fact that if he's a person who's who works off of emotion and was connection with the fans and the players, and you could see his raw emotions in the game. Now, when you see him, he just doesn't seem like himself. He doesn't seem like he's as connected with with his own players, because you can see the way that they're performing is not to what he would want, and he's not getting the best out of them based off the fact that he might have overstayed his welcome. Not in the sense that he's a great manager, of course. I'm just saying, based on the fact that they're performing the way that they're performing, you have to look at him and say, you know what are you doing to get better out of them? Could it be that his assistant manager, Pep Linders, who everyone's arguing about, but I think he's a scapegoat. I think the buck stops at Pep Guardiola and all these other managers in the league, like Klopp. They are the beyond end all. No one else supersedes them. So when it comes down to it, this is on him as a manager to see if he can get the better out of them come until the end of the season. But if they finish 8th, 10th, where they are right now, if they end the season in 10th, out of respect for himself, he should resign, and he should just be like, you know what, I think I've done as much as I have, and I don't think it's a situation where Liverpool will ever sack him. And if new owners come in, he should stay. But if new owners don't come in, he should just leave, and this should be the end of his chapter at Liverpool, because he stays any longer, he's going to become the villain. And we've seen it before with Arsene Wenger.
Sorry, Agal, can I just say, why do you think he should stay? Because you've seen that Klopp can't really do the whole, reinvention.
The reason why I say he should stay, if you get ownership that are going to invest heavily, he could, and they have the right people around him to do the right things, he could definitely get the best out of players. He's shown that he can get the best out of players, but he needs ownership that are going to invest heavily to get a new crop of players. If they're not going to get a new crop of players and it's just going to be the same old, he's going to have to leave. And the reason why I say they're never going to sack him, he has so much credit in the bank. We have to realize that he's not going to get sacked. He literally won everything for them. So would it be great to move on from him? Potentially, yes. And in the short term, will it get them wins? Yes. But are they going to be doing it? I don't think so. And are Liverpool fans going to be yelling Klopp out? Or the ownership going to just say, you know what, it's time to pull the trigger mid-season? I don't think so, unless they find themselves in an actual relegation battle.
Isn't that the issue, though, Egal? Sentiment. I think that's where most people fall down. Look, that's my daughter coughing. Sorry about that. Sentiment is the issue why some of these teams fall down, especially at Liverpool. I saw this last year, even during the quad. For them to win the quad, right? They didn't even score a goal against Chelsea. They had to win pens. The squad was already going down, and yet they were not investing in midfielders. They brought in Thiago after Gini, and I told one of my Liverpool friends, look at the age of your squad members. You're not going to be able to press the same way. Things are going to go down. He said, no, you shut up. Look after your own team. You struggle before us. Look at Klopp's history. I think Pat was about to say this. At Men's, what happened? He brought them to the floor. He went down after years of staying there. I don't know if he walked away or he was sacked. I don't know if he walked away or sacked. But Dortmund, he left them in a very bad position. This man, I think Klopp, the issue he has is sentiment. He is attached to certain players. I think because they did it for him in the past, he doesn't want to let them go. As much as some people might look at Pep, he's ruthless. Look at Fergie. He got rid of David Beckham. Look at that. He got rid of players that are big enough than some of the players that you have at Liverpool. I just feel right now, Liverpool fans, I know right now it's tough. And the Klopp has done so much for you. But I think you guys are going to have to question him, because some of the things that are happening in your club, you can't just blame FSG out. Same way as United fans, Glazers out. Now they're quiet, as some people are quiet. Like my brother is a United fan. He was like, Glazers out. Now he hasn't said anything. FSG right now.
Oh, that's because they're selling the football club with one. They're leaving. Like it's.
I know. But the thing.
Let me
finish, Gal.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me just finish. The thing about Liverpool, as I said, is sentiment. Right now, you guys are going to have to just look at Klopp and say, you know what, man, you're not doing well. You have to go. I'm sorry. I don't think he's going to be able to build. He was given the opportunity to buy a midfielder. He went and bought Darwin Núñez. The funny thing is, people are busy laughing at Haaland. He has 25 goals. Núñez is 85 million. What is he doing? Apart from being chaos, Captain Chaos. You could have bought a midfielder that 85 million. Now, January comes in. I was like, oh, finally Liverpool are going to spend on a midfielder. Even if it's a 30 million midfielder or a midfielder less, they go get Gakpo. Gakpo, just because United wanted Gakpo, just because Núñez wanted to go to United, you wanted to get one over them. I think Michael Edwards was a genius, and I think he's the reason why right now some Liverpool is not making good decisions. I have a feeling that it's now Klopp who is making decisions on which players to buy. Thiago was never a placement for Gini. Gini was a workhorse and he was muscle. Fabinho, people keep saying, oh, this guy is finished. How can you be finished at the age of 29? Fernandinho came to City at the age of 29, but still did better. I just feel that right now Klopp is not in the space and he's not going to rebuild this team, even if you give him money. I would rather just say, Klopp, goodbye. Thank you for everything. Bring on new ideas and start rebuilding again. That's all I wanted to say.
Fair enough.
I hear you on that. Deborah Luck here with an amazing super chat. Thank you for the donation. Says it's the team, not Klopp. From your top point of view, sort of listening to what Patrick and Miguel had to say, Tom, Deborah Luck's super chat here saying it's not Klopp, it's the team that he has. But I know you were very angry on Saturday after another beatdown in the Premier League. Like, how are you feeling now? Like 48 hours later.
Not changed my point. Everything I said then, I still believe now. I do think that dressing room isn't playing for Klopp. I do think that that dressing room is, whether it's they're just tired of his ideas or they want to play for it but they can't anymore. It's just not working. It's not working. And Jurgen Klopp as a manager is fantastic at the building phase. He's fantastic at getting in bang average players and tapping into size that they never thought they had through emotions, through developments, this, that, and the other. But that's his biggest downfall when we get to this point. He's not. What's the best way I can put this? He's not a serial winner. That's the best way I can describe Jurgen Klopp. That man is not a serial winner because the teams he builds don't have the life cycle of a serial winner. That they have a 2 to 3 year period, and then they will fall off because the players just hit a limit. And because he forms such a connection with them because they were bang average when he got them and then they've come up with him and this, that, and the other, he never cuts loose. He has a lot more say on these transfers. He does. I don't think Michael Edwards was the key behind it because I think you could go out and get Paul Mitchell, who used to be director of football at Tottenham, and he could do better. The issue isn't who the director of football is. It's letting the director of football and the scouts do their job. Because right now, it's like we've got a manager who's trying to do the squad, then he's doing the transfers, then he's doing PR and this, that, and the other. The club's a mess, and the takeover stuff isn't helping. We need clarification on what is going on regarding the future of this football club, regarding the sale process. We need something. We need the owners to speak out. Maybe that's a cause behind it. I don't know, but I just think that we've come to a real turning point with Klopp. And could he, if he gets these owners in, he gets the money, could he turn it round? Maybe, but there's no evidence of that in the past. And because of the squad we've got, because of where I expect Liverpool Football Club to be as a team, year in, year out, I don't want us to be his guinea pig. I don't want us to be the one that he gets to test it out with. Because if it doesn't work and we end up wasting hundreds of millions of pounds, then what's the point when we could have got a Tuchel, when we could have got a Ruben Amorim in right now and start the next phase of the project? Because that's what we are at the minute. We are a project club.
So
and until we get them win, am I Klopp? I'm not out, not now, not right this second, because I don't agree with mid-season changes. I don't see the point in bringing in my number one target.
But yeah, I mean,
what about the end of the season?
The season's over now anyway, isn't it? Like the Liverpool have
11. I need 11 points, Teddy. I need 11 points. Get me to 40, and then I'm sound. I don't need to watch the rest of the games. End of the season, there's a conversation that has to be had, and it has to be a proper conversation because.
So do you want him to walk, or do you want him to get sacked by the club?
I don't think again, like you said, he wouldn't get sacked. That man could get us relegated and he wouldn't get sacked because of what he's done and the love that the fans have for him. But I do see him walking if he doesn't believe that he can turn this around. And stuff that I'm like the past, I don't know how much of the press conference you watched post-match. He just looks like a man who's going at everyone else. He's on the defensive. He's completely backed up against the wall. He's refusing to answer journalists' questions because of stuff they've written. It looks like a man who's out of ideas, and it's best for all parties if we consider him going and we bring in someone else. I mean, my number one target would be Thomas Tuchel. I think Thomas Tuchel is a fantastic manager, and I think under the restrictions that FSG provide, the man has worked under those restrictions in the past at a Dortmund, so there wouldn't be much adaptation period needed. And this, you've got to bear in mind, it's a squad that should be at the business end of the table, the top end. This should be up there. I mean, even Salah, in one of his worst seasons I can remember him having, he still ended up with something like 24 goals and assists so far. So there's still clearly something in the squad, but I just think Jurgen Klopp's not the man to get it out of them anymore.
It's certainly an interesting one, and viewers, we obviously want your thoughts and feelings on this. There's a super chat that came in here that says, I think everyone needs to understand it is Klopp's fault. You don't build a team dependent on a high press and not get in solid rotation. I think the point as well around not buying energetic midfielders. He's got a lot of things wrong, Jurgen Klopp, and I think since Michael Edwards has left, it's really shown him up. This super chat here says overinflated assets can be used for tax evasion. Okay, yeah. I mean, thanks, Bill. I don't know what that in relation to, though, my brother.
I think I'm still going about Man City. I think this is still going about Man City.
Yeah, it could be. Is Aguero the new Harry Kane? Oh, what, with no trophies when City haven't pulled away? That'd be funny. Can you imagine? What has Chelsea ever paid for? AFC is bigger. How far back are you watching? That was about an hour ago that was said. Jesus, headbangers. Thank you for the super chat, though, my friend. I appreciate it. Reminder, Liverpool gave up 3 goals to the lowest scoring team in the league. Liverpool's second leading goal scorer since the World Cup is Perez from Leicester.
He's not second. He's our top Premier League goal scorer since the return.
No way. That's a joke. That's a joke.
That's a genuine stat.
Are we even shocked with Liverpool? Like, they lost 3-0 to Wolves, and I was like, yeah, I'm not too surprised. like I wasn't too surprised. I was more surprised Tottenham beat Man City.
As much as I want to banter Liverpool, I thought the game against Wolves was going to be one of those matches where they win, and maybe you get a few of their fans get a bit excited again. They lose a week later. Wolves barely score goals. They have improved under Locatelli, but it wasn't just losing. Just like against Brighton twice, they were comprehensively battered. And that's what, even when Liverpool were bad back in the day, barring maybe the Roy Hodgson era, they were still in games they lost, still often the better team, had good moments. I've watched Liverpool I've watched every game since the return of the World Cup, and I don't remember a match where they looked convincing, they moved the ball well. Even when they beat like Aston Villa were creating chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. And I've been called it's a crazy one. It really is. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being smashed, by the way. Make sure you are subscribing to the Football Terrace. The next subject you have voted in is a bit of a question in relation to Arsenal at the weekend. The question is, have Arsenal broken Man City? But I want to go to the first bit first. I want to go to Patrick on this. Patrick, the Spurs fan. Patty. Did we see a sign of Arsenal crumbling at the weekend and a collapse on the horizon? Or was it just a one-off poor performance from them?
I think it was like the perfect storm, wasn't it? Sean Dyche coming in, he couldn't have timed it better. You knew he was going to get that new manager bounce. You know, we'll see what Everton are saying after a couple of games, but perfect game for the players at Everton to show the manager that they should stick with him against the best team. You're going to give it your all. I saw Everton. I've never seen them like that, pressing for everything, hounding Arsenal players. You could see, that 12:30 kickoff is always it's a bogey fixture. It's a banana skin. And Arsenal slipped all over it, man. It's just Everton were up for the fight. The fans were on it. And Arsenal, they weren't awake. Like, I saw that's the first time I've seen Arsenal look tired and leggy and just out of ideas. And Everton were all over them. And if we're being honest, the scoreline should have been more than 1-0. The scoreline actually favoured Arsenal because Everton had a lot of good chances. They lost to City. They've lost to Everton. Who's your next fixture, Gal?
Brentford at home.
Okay, so yeah, that's a game you should win. But again, they're a decent team, but it's a game you should win. I'll be able to tell Terry after their next game because, to be fair, City is always a tough game. Everton, new manager bounce. It was like the perfect time for Everton to play Arsenal to prove to their manager that they should be in that team. I mean, Dyche mixed it up. He went for pace and power in the midfield. You've never seen that combination of just raw athletes in the middle of the park, and they just
for a Dyche team anyway.
I know, literally, yeah. It was crazy, like something refreshing. But yeah, and I hope this is the moment where the wheels fall off. Arsenal are a good team, though. I hate to say it, they are a good team, man. They deserve to be where they are. Other than the Everton game, they've looked good in every game. So we'll see. But yeah, it was the first time I've seen Arsenal out of ideas. Saka didn't look like he wasn't on it. Martinelli, I keep saying that. I think the guy is overrated, man. That this year he's not been as good as people making him out to be. Saka's been a killer, don't get me wrong. And Nketiah's been very good. Odegaard's been fantastic. Zinchenko coming in and playing as a midfielder when you get the ball and all of that. But Martinelli didn't show me nothing on the weekend. Saka wasn't good. It was just as well. It was a perfect storm for Everton, and Arsenal didn't really have anyone that took that ball. You alluded to it earlier, Terry. You said that Arsenal don't have any like standout player, but collectively they've all been really good. And on Saturday, none of them were really that good, and they just got beat, man. It happened. So we'll see. Brentford at home is a game you should win, but you know, Brentford, if they turn up, they could beat you as well. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Are you worried at all, Gal? Are you, because the narrative is that. Now, I'm putting it out there as what people are saying. This isn't my thought and feeling, but are you worried at all going into this Brentford game? You know, if you drop points against Brentford, which you should win at home, but isn't inconceivable, you then play on the Wednesday against City, again at home, but there could be more pressure built up. Do you feel like Arsenal could be going for a little bit of a blip with 2 defeats on the bounce, or will it be business as usual this weekend? Arsenal backfiring, comfortable win against Brentford, and then gearing up for the City game?
I'm not too concerned. That's just me personally. I'm not too concerned. The thing that I would be concerned about is what Patrick picked up on with Martinelli. Hasn't been performing as well with Jesus out. I think Jess touched on it after the game. We definitely needed Jesus in that game. Another person up front that could unlock the defense. And the thing that I would be concerned about, Terry, the only thing I feel like Arsenal fans should be concerned about, and I think as a content creator, I think you touched on this, could this be the blueprint on how to possibly slow us down? Because when it comes to playing football, if you play football with us, you give us time. And Nubbin said earlier that Man City might have got fined for long grass. I think Everton might get fined for that also. With Sean Dyche there, not gonna lie, but you can't.
You're just making that's a poor.
Yeah, man, you're making it up, man. Excuse, not an excuse.
That wasn't an excuse. That was tongue in cheek. Anyways, if you guys want to continue, let me continue. When it comes down to my main point. If you go up against us and you don't match us toe to toe and you don't let us play football, you play compact, you play a low block, put basically 8 of your players in between that halfway line and your box, and majority of the game you only play with 1 striker and try to counter us. Most likely than none, you're going to be able to slow down our defense a little bit easier than other people. And when it comes to Martinelli and Bukayo Saka, when they get the ball, they shifted over, and you see in a situation where they still somehow had 8 people in the box and 2 people defending Saka or Martinelli each time. So they did a good job. I gotta give Sean Dyche credit. I really don't think Everton are gonna get relegated, but my concern would be if this is a blueprint on how to stop us away from home. At home against Brentford, we're winning, no question about it. When it comes to away from home, if it was against Brentford away from home, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But at this moment in time, we're at home. We got a good game to bounce back. We're gonna go do it, and we win together, we lose together. People are gonna be upset. There are some negatives to take away, but overall, I'm not too upset.
I think what Everton done was exposed a bit of the naivety in that Arsenal squad, in the sense that because they were so compact and so well drilled in terms of what they'd done, you saw Arsenal floundering for ideas quite early on in the game. I don't watch Arsenal as much as you, but I've never seen Ben White put in that many crosses. I've never seen Ben White put in that many crosses from
it became Trent, isn't it? It became Trent 2.0.
Like, it's not even that. It's just you just all of a sudden started to panic quite early, and that was where Everton started to cause more problems, because your fullbacks were pushing on further and wider, but the ball was ending up at the wrong people's feet, so then they were giving it away. And Odegaard, because you had so many players trying to bomb forward, he was ending up having to drop deep and then not being able to cause damage in the right areas. It was just almost a bit too panicky too early on, and that'll get solved as you get more experience, but that won't get solved overnight. And I think that's what teams need to try and exploit if they're going to get results against you. Try and unsettle you early on and go for that naivety. Stopping Saka is a different kettle of fish. They were lucky they had Dwight McNeil, who is a winger who is quite happy to just mark the other winger and sacrifice his game, because all that happened with Saka was McNeil and Mykolenko doubled up on him at all times. At all times, one of McNeil or Mykolenko was on him. So he was never getting the space. But it wasn't like that with Martinelli, or it wasn't like that with Odegaard. It was just, I felt you just panicked a bit too early, and I thought you went a bit too gung-ho, and that was where the space opened up. Also, Calvert-Lewin, come on, how do you make Calvert-Lewin look good? He's not that good.
He didn't look good. The guy could have had 3 goals.
He did. He looked good, He did.
1 second. If you're gonna mention somebody who looked good, it was Onana. Calvin-Lewin had a chance to score.
You know, but I know Onana's good. I know Onana's good. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is not good, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin was bullying your centre backs and causing all sorts of problems.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin could have had 3 goals. He literally didn't score. He came out of the game with the highest XG and didn't do shit. So Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
But that went. Yes, he was wasteful in front of goal, but I didn't say, he was so dangerous in front of goal. I said he was causing your centre backs problems. They couldn't mark him. He was physically dealing with them, and that was creating other opportunities.
You know what was causing our centre backs problem? Onana making runs from deep, almost as if he's an attacking.
Do you know what stood out to me in this game? There's someone who may end up being. There's been I don't know what he is. He's a TikToker. I don't know what TikTokers are. I've been looking at TikTok a lot recently. There's a few people. There's a United fan on TikTok. He's an Asian brother who does weird half-time analysis, or after 1 goal, like acts like the game's finished. I can't remember his name. I follow him now. He's like when Rashford scored against Arsenal, he's like, "That's it, you're done, Arsenal, we're winning." I thought, why would you ever tempt fate like that? It made me feel a bit ill. Like, it made me nervous, right? But have you seen that guy? I think he's a Spurs fan that goes, "Hello, football fans." You seen him? He said, if you put fast and strong midfielders up against Arsenal and you basically go in studs in and hit them, you can put them off their match. And it made me laugh because it was like, it's like Sean Dyche watched it and went, "Let's try that." And
I saw that.
But look, I don't know if naivety is the right word, but it's certainly a Sean Dyche team. Sean Dyche teams always play like they're a throwback team. I actually don't think Sean Dyche's Burnley team played the ugliest football in the world. I think what you actually watch it back, they're never going to ball out against City or against peak Liverpool. But what they did was old school in terms of they put it on you. They don't foul you to get yellows and reds. They're the kind of guys pinching the back of your thighs and your ass at corners, or treading down the backs of your Achilles. It's old school shithousery. They do it brilliantly. They had speed in the middle, and they really deserved it. I've just seen a lot of people that get a bit too giddy. I must have received about 30 or 40 DMs over the weekend saying, "You said Arsenal will win in the league. Today you were proved wrong." And I just thought to myself, like, people are so desperate for Arsenal to lose that they're acting as if the season ended yesterday. And I just don't know if you should be writing Arsenal off, because they are going to drop points. But City, that we've already discussed, that they had a perfect opportunity. Yes, they don't normally win away at Tottenham, but nor do this Arsenal team. And City, for me, I do think this season they've broken under the pressure of Arsenal. For one reason, there are multiple factors, but under the pressure of going up against Arsenal, this City team is broken. And I think a big part of it is just these players are like, this Arsenal team's too relentless and we can't go again. I don't think this City team has the minerals to go up against such a young, youthful and exuberant side. Have you ever watched animal documentaries where you get the new young lion Simba turns up and the old dog just says, "I can't have another fight. I haven't got it in me. Take my missus, take my pride. I'm just going to go and sit in the shade. Can I please have some scraps?" That's going to be City this season. I'm not saying City won't be back next year. Let's just park the bus on the allegations right now, because that's a different can of worms. City will be back next year. They'll spend money. They'll be fighting out for the title. I feel Arsenal beat Brentford. I feel Arsenal beat City at the Etihad. And with everything going on with these allegations as well, I'm actually getting to a point where I think Man United will end up finishing in front of Man City now. Because there is something.
Wow,
there's something. You guys can say that all you want, right? You guys can say it all you want. I've been telling you all year, City are gettable. They're not running and working as hard. They've got 1.5 players that are genuinely playing well. No fixed back line. The manager is, "I am happy. He's not happy at all. City I'm talking in the context of the top 6 and in the context of challenging for their title. City are in trouble. City are in a mess. Not a mess like how Everton are or what's going on at, clubs, like a Juve mess. I'm just talking in the context of a title challenge. Every time I've watched City play this year, invariably, you can get at them. They leak opportunities. They don't kill games off like they used to. And teams have more of the ball and play through you, probably more this season than in any other year since maybe year 1 under Pep Guardiola. And I'm not saying United will finish in front of you, but I think there's more chance of United finishing in front of City than City overtaking Arsenal, because even this weekend you had a perfect example and you froze and bottled it. So Arsenal literally had one of the worst weekends they've had all season, getting beaten by a relegation team, getting outrun and outclassed by a Sean Dyche side, and they still ended the day in a better position than City. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, but let me say something about after I go. Let me say something about Arsenal, though.
I just want to say it's not that Arsenal broke City. I think City have just been broken the whole season, Terry. I think City have been somewhat fragile the whole season, and when we play them, we'll actually see how they stack up against us at our house the midweek next week.
I think, but you've done to them what happened 3 seasons ago when Liverpool won the league. They went into the year going for a three-peat. Still a very good team, City, by the way. City are still a brilliant team. They went into that season and Liverpool were relentless again. They wouldn't stop. And it got to that November, December time, which, by the way, with the amount of games we've played, we're kind of ahead of schedule time-wise because of the World Cup. But, like, they got to that November, December time, might be a little bit after, and I felt like City just went, oh, I can't keep going. And it broke them. And that isn't because City are bad. It's because they're off the back of 2 back-to-back years of winning the Premier League. Doing it 3 times on the bounce is so hard mentally to maintain that concentration, to maintain that level of focus. There's almost an element of MMA fighters talk about this a lot. Sometimes they can be in a fight and they're like they get the situation where they're like, I could keep fighting for another round, but I'm so exhausted. I've been hit so many times. I might end up getting like rendered unconscious, which means it might be 6 months, 9 months until I can fight again. And sometimes you can get knocked out bad enough where you never fully recover and you become a little bit less, your punch resistance goes. So often what they'll do is they'll get themselves in a situation where they'll tap early, or they'll sort of in the breaks, they'll get throw the white towel in as an example. And some say it's a cowardice. You listen to those fighters speak and they're like, listen, I just knew I wasn't going to win. So I get myself out of there and I save myself for another day. And there's an element of City saving themselves for another day as well. But I just think Arsenal's relentless nature this season has broken them. And even when they get thrown a little bit of lady luck, they can't get over the line anymore. Mentally, City's gone. They're gone in this title race. It's over. It's over.
Yeah, can I say something about
it's over in the head?
Can I say something about Arsenal though? I just want to say this, and I'm pretty sure the Liverpool fan might agree with this with me, and also my fellow City fan. The funny thing is this, right? I keep looking at Arsenal fans, and as I said, I warned my friend that teams might find you this second half of the season, and you guys might be tired because the running you're doing is a bit too much. Unlike Man City, where when we are beating somebody, even Liverpool, we used to start passing the ball around, conserving the energy for the next game, while Arsenal keep just running. What I'm saying is, what's going to happen is, this Everton game, people might just look at it and say, Arsenal had a bad day. But Arsenal have been given, when there's a low block by a team, same as Newcastle, I have noticed one thing with Arsenal, they can find a solution. City struggled some of the seasons to find solutions when people parked the bus. Liverpool also struggled when somebody parked the bus, but we went through it. We kept on pushing. But Arsenal seemed to be like a small team, lack of experience. I think they don't know what to do. Now, what if, this is just me, because I know Arsenal fans right now in Cloud9, they think they're all good. I can say this with chest. This whole Everton thing, I bet you there's few more teams that are going to look at that game and park the bus like that. It's going to be up to Arsenal, like what City did, where we used to win 1-0, get a pen sometimes, continue fighting, but we also struggled. Those games where we used to say, oh my God, that draw was painful. I think Arsenal are going to be undone by the fact that some of the teams right now, trust me, are going to park the bus like Everton did. This is what they did to City. This is what came to Liverpool. All I can say is, welcome to the big boys, Arsenal. This is what teams do to you in the league when they know you're that good. Because I think the first season, even a player, I think an interview, I don't remember, said, oh, we didn't take them that seriously. Now we see Arsenal are serious. Watch the second part of this season. I'll come back here and there'll be a few more games where Arsenal failed to score. They'll have all the possession they have and they'll lose games. That's all I can say.
To an nth degree, yes, but I also do think they've faced low blocks this season and come through it. I just think what's going to happen is they will hit a spell, whether it's starting now or not, they'll hit a spell where games will be tight and they're not playing as well as they know they can do. But this is where you need, and I'm speaking from experience, you end up getting one player who just turns up for a month or two, who just is in the vein of form of their life, To City, it was Gundogan
De
for
Bruyne,
a
Gundogan,
year
yeah.
ago. De
You guys got
Bruyne,
Salah.
Mahrez. With us, it was Sadio Mane, or it was Salah. You just find a player who finds that bit of form for a month or two, where everything goes well, and they drag you through games where you're not playing as well, even though you know you can. You're not playing as well, and then it'll be a weird result. You might go down 2-0 and then draw 2-2 that changes it all. But do you think Saka? I think it's more of a question to you, Gal. Do you think Saka is the guy who's going to be able to, for a month and a half, 2-month period, constantly drag you through games, or do you think you've got that guy yet?
Listen, we have the luxury, as Terry said earlier, of 4 or 5 guys. We have a cumulative situation. So it's not just Saka. We have a situation where both Saka, Martinelli, Eddie Nketiah, Odegaard, and Gabriel Jesus, including Xhaka, are all players who create over 25 chances so far this season, or over 30 at this point, I think, and have scored over 5 goals, majority of them. So when it comes down to it, it's not a one-man team. So if you're going to say if Xhaka is the guy who's going to carry us, no, I think it's a collective unit. But if you're going to say, can we put ourselves and say who's going to save us? At any given moment, any of those guys could step us and win us a game. So I'm comfortable. And when it comes back to Patrick, you said earlier today you're going to quit social media until this whole arbitration thing's over. So I wouldn't be talking about making jokes about each other's clubs at this moment in time. When it comes to Arsenal,
What joke are you on about?
When you're saying club size, let's be honest. We know what size. We know.
No, I was saying welcome to the big boys. Because look, you guys are big guys. I understand, but I'm saying right now, welcome to what was happening to us and Liverpool, because we struggled with people just parking the bus.
1 second, just to let you know, we have been going through this from Arsene Wenger days back in the day. We've been.
I understand. I'm talking about now, where the football is better.
Right. We've been experiencing this for a long time. It's just what's been happening over the last couple of years. People have been taking us as an easy game. Now that people are taking us as a tougher game, they're going to go resort back to what they were doing just 5-4 years ago. So it's not something new. It's just resorting back to the norm of how people used to play against us. So don't think this is something that only City experienced. We've been experiencing this.
So welcome back.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is a little different, Gal, though, is that this squad hasn't experienced it at Arsenal, because this squad didn't play with those brilliant Arsenal teams 20 years ago that went through this all the time, and they just got to learn to adapt to it quickly. It is hard up against low blocks. There's no doubt.
I get that. And the key to this whole thing is, honestly, at home against Brentford, I'm not concerned. Away from home against teams that do this, we're going to have to find a solution. And that solution could be Jorginho. It could be Jesus coming back.
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, a gal. You still
say Jorginho. Jorginho.
I've got some super chats here I want to do. First one says, keep an eye out for Tottenham. Our next 9 Premier League games, Spurs are favourites, with 3 points behind Man United, and now there is talk of United catching Arsenal. Look, I mean, that actually brings me on to, a little bit onto United. I'd say this is, listen, I was very impressed with Tottenham yesterday. And obviously on Friday, I said I thought that there's a possibility that Chelsea could catch them. And that's because there's only 6-point difference. And I think Chelsea are going to improve towards the end of the season. And that's based on the fact that I haven't seen a good Spurs performance outside of probably the second half against Palace. And they're okay in this. I thought they were okay against Fulham. Goal against a run of play, but then dominated the second half. But if Spurs put in performances like they did yesterday, week in, week out, definitely making top 4, because they've got a better team and a better manager than Newcastle. And of course, as a United fan, I'm more worried about them. It's whether that level of performance can be repeated. If I look at my own club in this, Man United have, since those opening 2 games of the season, we were poor against City when they smashed us. We were poor away against Villa, and Arsenal smashed us in the second half of that game at the Etihad, and we weren't that great in the draw with Palace. But outside of that, we put a lot, a good sort of 15 good quality performances in and above. So Spurs have got to go out and do that before there's talk of catching United. United also play their game in hand on Wednesday, so at home against Leeds, I'm very confident about winning that. So there'll be a 6-point gap. But focus on.
Are you scared of the new manager bounce though? The other manager's gone.
They're not going to have a new manager by Wednesday. I can't imagine they're going to have a new manager in by Wednesday. Maybe by the Sunday there could be a new manager bounce to see who they get. But yeah, I'm listen. The talk of United catching Arsenal. No Casemiro for 3 games makes it harder. Our next 4 games are winnable, back-to-back against Leeds. We're then at home against Leicester, and then we're at home against Brentford. Win those 4 matches, and if in that period Arsenal lose to City and then they lose away to Villa, maybe United can look at that. But United won't win the league title this year, and if you finish in front of Arsenal this season, you're winning the Premier League. And I just don't think Man United are going to do that. United are in a good space. Yeah, go on, mate.
United are in a good space, but I'm just going to go back to Arsenal quickly. You said don't count your chickens or anything like that. I'm not, but
I said that.
I'm not doing that. I'm just looking at the fixtures, the remaining, and I'm saying to myself, we're a good home team. We have 9 remaining home games, and we have 7 away games left. So when it comes down to it, if you look at the way that our form has been this season and how we performed away from home, being one of the best records away from home, and one of the best records at home, I'm not too concerned personally. That's just me.
Yeah, no, you shouldn't be concerned, but I'm just saying that you're talking like, yeah, we're definitely going to beat Brentford
because I believe it.
Brentford are a decent team on their day, and just be cautious, innit? Like the Premier League is the Premier League. Anyone can beat anyone, and they are a good team.
Patrick, it would be boring if everyone came on here and said anyone can beat anyone. It wouldn't be a show.
It's not boring. That's the reality. But if you believe that, that's cool. But I'm just saying, don't count.
Let me ask you this:
Who's
Tottenham playing next? Who's Tottenham playing next?
Leicester away.
Do you think you're going to lose to Leicester away?
No, I don't know.
Okay, so is that not cocky?
No, not at all. I believe that we'll beat them. But what I'm trying to say is the way you was overlooking that fixture and then talking about the next game. I'm just saying, just take time in it, be a bit cautious. You have lost 2 on the spin as well, so form has to look and come into it.
Yeah.
So is that?
I hear that, guys. Let me just get through these super chats. Sorry, boys. This says, imagine Kane switched to City, won a Premier League, and City got stripped. That's funny. Luxury tax is applied every time money is spent above the cap, and the money goes to teams at the bottom, increases more. But do you know what, Ronnie? I disagree with that because I don't believe in communism. So Man United deserve to be able to spend more money than anybody else in the league because we've grown our fan base over 130 plus years. We've grown our revenue over that time, and our success dictates that we can spend more money because our success is that's like a reward of being successful. It's almost like saying, yeah, United are allowed to spend more, but if we do, all the teams at the bottom are going to get part of our money and have done nothing for it. It's like, I'm not a fan of that myself personally. I mean the bottom financially. I get what you mean, but yeah, for me, it's what they need to do is run themselves better, continually grow, continually get better, and they'll earn more money one day. Too early to say. New manager groove versus complacent Arsenal. Good for early humbling to prep us for City as well. That's also true. This could kick Arsenal into gear. Every other time they've lost this year or had a bad result, they've typically bounced back straight away. So let's see. Neto says, as an Arsenal fan, not worried as we are the best in England. Players lose form, but the players like Jesus, Emil Smith-Rowe, when fit, City has too many issues to compete with us.
One of the best in the world, not just in England.
Who's one of the best in the world?
Calm down.
It's a fact. You have Barcelona, you have Napoli, and you have Arsenal.
Win the trophy. Win the Premier League now, then we can talk.
One second. Let me ask you a question. Is Napoli not one of the best teams in Europe right now?
In form.
Okay, so do they have to win the trophy before you can say that?
No, we're talking about in form.
Then stop. Don't say that again.
So you agree? So you agree that Rashford is better than Saka right now?
At this moment in time, Rashford is playing like one of the best players in form.
Answer the question how you just
he said in form. Look at that.
Yeah. Is
Rashford right now?
Is Rashford better than Saka right now? Yes or no, please.
Rashford's performing better than Saka.
Is Rashford better than Saka right now? Yes or no?
I've just answered it. Yes, he's performing better than him.
You twist it. You say performing. I love what Igal does.
No, but Terry, it's not a got you moment because I rate Rashford and they're 2 different positions. One second. My point is. I was trying to get you,
Igal. Igal, no one's trying to get you.
Let me just land.
You've already landed.
It's not done.
You landed.
This goes to show you that Saka has no peers. You're comparing him to a left winger.
But that isn't the point. That isn't the point.
He said player, though. He said player.
I'm winding you up, right? You turned around and said Arsenal, like Napoli, are one of the best 3 teams in the world on form right now because you based it on form. I then said, okay, so based on that, Rashford is better than Saka right now. And the funny bit is you don't go, yes, he is on form. You say, I think he's performing really well right now, maybe a little bit better than Saka. Like, you won't just answer it in the same direct way you did with Napoli and Arsenal.
Bias.
And their form. It's just funny, Igal.
No, but then...
Igal, it's not a dig. Listen, honestly, let me just finish. It's not a dig. You do it all the time. You'll make a really very good, short, concise statement when you're like bigging Arsenal up, and then someone like uses your logic back on you, and your answer is like so verbose and long-winded, so it doesn't sound as good. It's just, again, it's just funny. It's not deep it. Leave it as a joke.
It's not.
Joke.
It's not.
Joke.
It's not. But it just goes to show that Saka has no peers. That you're comparing him to a left winger.
No peers.
No, but I said wing. I said best winger. I didn't say best right winger.
That doesn't make sense though.
No, but it's fair. It's fair. It's a fair point that you can't name a right winger performing better than Saka.
No, I wouldn't. I think Saka is the best. Has been the best right winger that I watch regularly. Like in the Premier League, he's definitely been the best. I think in terms, Kulusevski's another very good one. I think Mahrez has been very good. There's no doubt. But I was just making an example.
Yeah. Okay, get it. Yeah.
But again, you just taken me like using your logic as a bit of a joke with you into something really deep that didn't need to go into. But there we go. Egal being Egal, as everyone says. And that's why we love Egal. That's why we love him. Terry, if Man City get charged, we have 2-3 titles because we become 3 times second. Yes, I know what you're trying to say in that. Yeah, we should get them. We should get them. If they get them stripped, I want them.
Can we have them as well? Get Stevie's Premier League medal.
I know. Breaking news: Chelsea are lining up a world record bid to purchase any potential deducted points from Manchester City due to FFP investigations. They are pushing, not an easy one, is what Guna Forever says. Off topic: what is the reason a lot of big clubs are struggling this season? AC Milan, Ajax, Liverpool, Chelsea, even PSG. I mean, I don't watch all their leagues, but Milan have been struggling for years. I know did they win it last year?
Yeah, they won it last year.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
They won it last year, but you look at they don't have a team like they used to have that would dominate for a decade. It isn't good. It isn't as good as that. That's kind of why Ajax. Yeah, they lost one of the best managers in the world and replaced him with basically a lookalike. Do you know what I mean? You know when you see those bad Simon Cowell lookalikes and they're just they can't even do the voice. That's what he is. Liverpool, we know why, and Chelsea. Just keep an eye out for Chelsea. We know Chelsea and Liverpool's issues. Zinchenko effectively being a midfielder leaves Martinelli super isolated on the wing. Zinni overlaps even less than White, and as good as Xhaka has been, he is no Odegaard, is what Jay has had to say to us here. And I think that is a fair point. And people are asking me in the comments, what was your thoughts on United at the weekend? Again, very good. Rashford scored again. I know we'll make top 4 this year. I'm absolutely confident. Still annoyed Casemiro got sent off. The whole thing annoyed me. Like, I don't necessarily think what he did wasn't a red card. It was more like Ayew grabbed Fred by the neck and nothing happened. And this is the thing with referees, right? If you actually watch the whole, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos. You probably don't care. That's why you don't watch them. But there's a thing where you can watch the whole altercation between Hughes and Casemiro. Casemiro was just trying to stop him from fighting. And at the end, they laugh at each other, smile, and hug. So for me, people say, he choked him. If he was honestly cutting off the air supply to Hughes, you think Hughes would smile and laugh and hug him? He wouldn't. That's what was annoying about it.
Come on, there. Two hands on Hughes.
But you're not. Again,
you think it should be rescinded, Terry?
No, I mean it won't be. It won't be because the club won't risk him being banned for a further game. But this is where common sense needs to prevail. He got sent off for violent conduct, but the man that he was reportedly choking smiled, laughed, and hugged him afterwards. When he got sent off, there's pictures of the Palace players looking at each other going, "Why Casemiro?" Because it's used by the players as Casemiro just breaking up a fight as opposed to lashing out and hitting. I get why he got sent off. That's the only bit of the game that annoyed me. Rashford, smashing it again. He's just been an absolute, just dynamite.
Yeah, that sound, guys. It's just me.
Yeah, someone's got their phone near though.
So yeah, it's a phone near there.
The mic.
Probably Tom. Tom did something and it stopped. I see Tom move and then it all stopped.
You got nabbed.
But there we go. What aboutery, Terry? Well, it's not about whataboutery. So that's not an example of whataboutery. It's an example of consistency. It's if one player is getting done for putting his hands on someone's neck, why are they not looking out? I personally don't think they saw it. It's fans. They look at it afterwards. And if you're not going to review like a 10-man brawl thoroughly, I don't think you can make a snapshot decision like that and whatever else. But again, and even the video they showed, if you watched it for another 3 seconds, they were hugging and cuddling. Have you ever seen a player hit another guy, headbutt him or spit on them and get sent off, but where they both enjoyed it? It never happens. Like, that's what was weird about it for me. But, as we say, we win the game. We should still win our next 3 games without Casemiro. We should be beating teams like Leeds and Leicester. So Let's move on to the next one. And we keep getting, do you know what is annoying me though? I keep seeing United fans online. Title race. We're in it. My view is I don't mind saying it if your view is to put pressure on the team to see how they handle it. But there are United fans that genuinely think they're going to win the league. And for me, we're just a player or two short right now. You know, if we wouldn't have signed Weghorst and we'd have got Harry Kane, then maybe. If we'd have signed Sabitzer, but Eriksen wasn't out, maybe. But I just don't see us being good enough to challenge for this title. But top 4, 100%. And if that's how I see it. Oh, by the way, Atsu has been found in Turkey, I believe. I've seen
wow. Okay. That's good news.
He's reported
Good
as missing
news.
after an earthquake there, which is really, really
Yeah.
good. But there we go. Viewers, I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in today. Obviously, a big hour on the big story with Man City. We're back tomorrow with more news for you, more conversations. Lee Gunner and I are back for straight facts. Wednesday, of course, Man United take on Leeds, an opportunity to close that gap at the top. And actually, I think if we beat Leeds on Wednesday, yes, we'll have a game in hand, but we'll actually go level on points with Manchester City if we win that game. And I don't think it's inconceivable that we jump in front of them. Thank you to all my panel. You're absolutely amazing. Thank you to everybody who has tuned into the show today. It means a great deal to us. It really does, especially our super chatters. I want to say, of course, before the end, though, it's always a very sad day today, the 6th of February, as it marks another anniversary of the passing of the Busby Babes and the other people upon the aircraft, including the journalists who sadly lost their lives in the Munich air disaster. So, of course, a tribute for them at the end, and just a solemn message that, as a United fan, especially, the flowers of Manchester and the flowers of English football, not just today, but are never, ever forgotten. Thank you, everybody. Take care. God bless. Good night. And we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.